Good morning, everybody. So, real quick, this is not going to be anything long. I just wanted to kind of talk about something that I just read this morning. I was reading in 1 Kings where Solomon was a teenager and he was a king. So he went to Gideon and he was doing like his burnt incense thing. I guess it's kind of like a sacrifice to God back then. Not really sure how all that works. But he was talking to God and God said, "Ask me what you want." Well, instead of going to God and saying, "Hey, God, I want to be rich. I want to live a long life. I want to be powerful. I want to be all these things," right? You know, what most people want, right? Money, power, wealth. Instead, he wanted wisdom. And I was like, well, that was actually very wisdom is to, ask for as a young kid, right? So he wanted wisdom. He wanted wisdom to be able to judge his people accordingly and in a way that would be pleasing to God. So God gave this kid wisdom and discernment to rule his people the way that God intended. And in a way, to do that, he kind of used him as an example, because if you remember in the Bible, the two prostitutes that lived together, they were pregnant at the same time and they gave birth within like 3 days of each other. Well, one of the prostitutes actually rolled over on the baby in her sleep and the baby passed away. And the other mother, her baby was still fine, so during the night, the prostitute that had the son that passed away swapped the babies out. Well, she went to King Solomon, both of them did, and they were arguing amongst each other, and the king said, "Okay, I'll handle this." So the king tells his helper guy to go get a sword, and we're going to cut the baby in half. And then, sharing is caring, right? So we're going to cut the baby in half, and you guys can just equally have a part of this baby, right? You can share this one child. And the real mother stood up and screamed and was like, no, don't cut the baby in half. We're not doing this. Just let her have the baby. And immediately right then, King Solomon said, "You're the real mother, and you can keep the baby." So he sent the mothers away. But not only did he give Solomon the discernment and the wisdom at such a really young age to, fix the situation, he used that to show his people what a good, strong king that he was going to be. And that he, even though he was so young, he would rule over them in the ways that they needed. And that was God doing that, because God blessed him in that way, because he said, "Dude, you could have asked for anything you wanted. You could have asked to be rich and powerful. You could have asked to live 1,000 years. You didn't. Instead, you asked for wisdom and you asked for discernment." So with that being said, I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to make you powerful. And if you do the things that I ask, I'm going to give you a long life. But you have to serve me the way that your father David did. So I kind of thought that was just like mind-blowing, because I'm looking at us and I'm like, this was a young kid. This kid, what young kid thinks to ask for wisdom and discernment? Not many. If God comes to you and says, "Hey, what do you want?" most kids are going to be like, "Hey, I want money, I want wealth, I want power, I want, all the video games in the world." You get what I'm saying. Like, even us adults, a lot of times we're more focused on what we want now. "Hey, God, I want this new car. Hey, God, I want this new house. Hey, God, I want to get revenge on somebody," right? We don't think to ask God, what do you want us to want? But without thinking, Solomon said, God, I want these things so that I can please you. And because he had that mindset, he had that heavenly mindset, not the earthly mindset, he had a heavenly mindset. God blessed him in more ways than he could have even thought of or imagined, because he wasn't focused on worldly things. Because worldly things only exist in this world, right? So when we pass away and we leave this world, if our only mindset was this world, we have nothing when we die. But his mindset was on eternally. He was thinking eternally, not now, not what can benefit me now. I need to know what I need to do while I'm here to help you, God. Not help me, help you. What is going to further your kingdom? Because this is how my dad David told me I had to live and I had to serve, and his God is my God. God, you were his God and you're now my God. So what can I do to help you? That was a really responsible and mature mindset for such a young child, especially being put into a position of ruling a kingdom as a teenage boy. Most teenage boys aren't thinking heavenly mindsets. They're thinking earthly mindsets. They're thinking, what do I want today? What do I want to do today? What sounds fun today? They don't think about tomorrow or the rest of their lives, or eternally for that matter. So I think that we could all learn a lesson from Solomon. I mean, we need to sit down and we need to really evaluate what is our thinking. Are we thinking eternally, or are we thinking short-term earthly? Because we can't take earthly short-term mindsets, goals to heaven with us. But we can think eternally, and everything we do on this earth, we can do for God, to glorify God. And as we're doing that, God will bless us as we're on earth to live amazing lives. But we can only do that if we have eternal mindsets. God's not going to bless us if we're not serving him. He's going to bless us for serving him. So we need to really think about where our minds are, where our hearts are, and what our goals are in the end. Are they eternal, or are they short term? Are they heavenly, or are they earthly? Think about that.